How did a fake whiskey fool millions and become one of the most popular liquor brands in America? Because what people have been drinking isn't whiskey, it just looks like it is. Fireball Cinnamon sells in over 170,000 stores, and not one of those little red bottles contains a single drop of real whiskey. In just 5 years, these mini bottles raked in over $70 million, fought lawsuits, and became one of the top 50 beer brands in America, all by using a simple loophole anyone could have spotted. But to understand how Fireball pulled off one of the most successful whiskey scams in American history, we need to start at the beginning, because before the tiny bottle scam, there was a much bigger one. The year is 2007. Flavored spirits are exploding, college parties are raging, and on the bottom shelf of every liquor store sits a forgotten failure, Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball Whiskey. Too sweet for whiskey drinkers, too boring for college kids, a schnapps pretending to be a whiskey shooter dying a slow death. But inside the Sazerac Company boardroom, an executive sees what everyone else missed. The schnapps market for young adults is crowded, but the whiskey market is wide open. So they ask themselves one simple question: what if we created a whiskey designed for parties, not whiskey drinkers? But there were 3 problems standing in their way. Problem number 1, the name Dr. McGillicuddy's Fireball Whiskey was about as catchy as reading a prescription bottle. Problem number 2, real whiskey burns, college kids wanted shots that went down like candy. And finally, problem number 3, real whiskey takes years to age and costs a fortune to make. Time and money Sazerac didn't have. However, what happens next reveals just how far one company was willing to go to bend the rules. First, they killed the old name. Out went Dr. McGillicuddy's, and in came one explosive word: Fireball. Dangerous, modern, memorable, a name that screamed party instead of medicine cabinet. Second, they kept the sugary schnapps formula. Smooth, sweet, and dangerously easy to drink. One Reddit user put it perfectly: it tastes like drinking apple pie. But here's where the real trickery begins. They needed to call it whiskey, but there was a massive legal problem. To be real whiskey in America, you need 2 things: at least 40% alcohol and age for at least 2 years in barrels. Fireball, as it sat, was technically a schnapps marketed as a whiskey-style shooter. It contained just 33% alcohol and had no aging to speak of. But then they found a loophole. If you slap flavored whiskey on the label and add a trace amount of real whiskey, you don't need to distill, age, or do any of the hard work. You can skip the process entirely. So that's exactly what they did. They bought cheap pre-made Canadian whiskey from a distributor and blended just enough into their candy schnapps to technically qualify as flavored whiskey. Real whiskey, 40%. Fireball, 33%, but because it's flavored, it scrapes by legally. However, in places like Europe and Japan, they can't sell it as whiskey because it doesn't meet the alcohol or aging requirements. But in America, totally legal. In one move, Sazerac had solved all of their problems. A product that looked like whiskey, tasted like candy, and could legally call itself flavored whiskey. But making fake whiskey was only the beginning. Now they had to sell it.